Trader Merlin, it is your Monday edition, the 3rd of February, our first official day of February, and man, what a wild one. Did not expect to see as wild of a reaction to the tariffs as we did over the weekend. I hope that you weathered that storm. Certainly from the crypto perspective, it was jaw-dropping, right? I did not buy any more crypto on this dip, which I wanted to, but I did sell some puts today, so we'll talk about some of that as we go forward. But really, it just... And the graphic here is a little sensational, this market's in chaos. And it really felt like it going into Sunday night. I don't know if you guys saw my Twitter post, but I haven't even looked at the results of this Twitter post. Let me see what it actually showed. But I was looking at, I think, kind of a survey of what people thought would happen with this market today. And I said, will the S&P 500 lock limit down on Monday? Because that was a comment one of my trader friends said. He says, I think we're going to lock down tomorrow. I said, nah, I don't think we'll lock limit down. But 30% of the people said, yes, we'll lock limit down. 60% said no. I was in the no camp. And then I had a couple people ask me what was a lock limit down, which, of course, I answered on there. But obviously, we did not lock limit down today. It was just wild action. And I guess we kind of have to step back and break it down from not only an active trader perspective, but from the longer-term perspective and see what does this all really mean for us, and was this move warranted? Did the markets overreact, or have we just begun to react? Meaning, are we going to see more downside movement? So let's really just acknowledge the point which I think I mentioned at the beginning of the year, and certainly as we get a new administration and so many changes, is this pain of uncertainty. Now, of course, this all starts at the top with President Trump, but let's talk about some other things here real quick. Is this whole DOGE office, I usually try not to get into political stuff, but I've watched all these different senators talking about how Elon Musk is out of line, he's got no authority, he needs to be stopped, he's a madman, and you look at what he's doing, and it's like, he is literally like the butcher shop that has received this giant slab of beef, and he's like, I gotta cut all this fat off. You're gone, and taking all these little pieces. Now, at some point, I do anticipate that there might be some overcuts. However, I think most of us here would probably agree that there needs to be some cuts, right? We need to start cutting these costs. And so I've been going back and forth, or not really back and forth, just going at some of these politicians. Like, they keep going after Musk for cutting so many things. Like, well, then you do it. This was your job, is to clean things up, but you won't. And here's Elon Musk, who has no political skin in the game. He's not worried about losing his job as a senator. So he'll just chop away as he sees best to run a business. So bravo. But that brings in a tremendous amount of uncertainty. And if you saw my Monday Morning Must Knows, you know that one of the things I'm very interested in for this week, not only is this tariff issue, but also this, deferred resignation issue, which will come to a head on Thursday, the 6th of February, where President Trump has said, if you want to retire, you want to step away from your federal job, you have until February 6th to say yes or no to this email that I sent to every federal employee. If you say yes, don't come to work tomorrow. You get to get paid all the way through the end of September. But after that, your obligations and commitment and work with the United States government is over. How many people are going to take that, right? How many people will accept that? I think there's a lot of people here that, if you look around, if you're a government employee and you felt like there was redundancy or likelihood that your department's going to go, I think a lot of people are going to take this. It'll be really interesting to see what will happen here. Yeah, Margaret says the guilty people are the ones that got upset. Yeah, it's just, Trump right now, or not Trump, Musk right now is making all of these politicians look bad. Really. I mean, just making them look stupid, especially once he's peeling back the onion of a lot of this stuff and making it public that, look, we're spending $3,000 to see how fast a shrimp can run on a treadmill. Like, who in any agency of our government approved this, right? Guys, I can do that for probably $100. Just give me a big box of shrimp. I'll get a treadmill and for $100. But we spent $3 million to figure out how fast a shrimp can run on a treadmill, which serves no purpose whatsoever. And the government sure as heck shouldn't be paying that. And then I'm hearing rumors about, $50 million worth of condoms to Gaza and things like that, right? There's a lot of bad stuff that needs to be removed. And I saw a big up post here. Elon is famous for overcutting and then adding back if necessary. I hate to say it, big up, but that's the camp I'm in. I'm in the camp of overcut and then hire back if necessary. I think that that's what we should be doing. And, I might differ with a lot of people here, but that's the shock and awe. And that's why I created this graphic. I think there is a lot of pain of uncertainty where just people don't know exactly what's going to happen. And since markets love certainty, right? Markets like calm. Markets like where Monday is the same as Tuesday, is the same as Wednesday, and it's just cookie cutter easy to go to. man, this was such an about-face Sunday night going into Monday morning. Even I was looking at the crypto markets going, man, I might be a little concerned here. But I follow this guy who is an absolute clown, yet he's got millions of followers, so you have to follow this guy. And all he does is spread FUD and get click engagement. And one of his things like, oh, this is the meltdown, it's the end. It's like, if you guys looked at technicals, you'd understand that Bitcoin's price chart, which we've talked about repeatedly on this show, the 91,000 mark was a spot for Bitcoin where most likely it was going to bounce. And it's kind of the bottom end of this range here. And notice where we bounced today. Low point for Bitcoin in this recent sell-off here, 91,530. It's literally, from the time I actually put the post, so pat myself on the back, I guess, ripping to the upside here. So really was nothing to get freaked out about with regards to Bitcoin. Now, some of these altcoins, your Trump coins and Pepe and all that stuff, yeah, you saw some 30% declines. Even cryptocurrencies like Ripple were getting absolutely just decimated. But look at that. This might be one of the biggest hammer formations you're ever going to see. If you look at price percentage from the Sunday's close all the way to the low of today, just from Sunday's close to the low of today, you're talking a 30% drop in the price of Ripple. Now, unfortunately, I bought some Cardano on Friday, which really hurt because I bought it like 91 cents. And at some point today, Cardano hit 50 cents. I mean, unbelievable opportunity for people to buy in. It dropped 36.5% today. And that's, of course, not where I bought it. I bought it on Friday at 91, which actually, was it Friday? Well, I bought it at 91 is the price I was executed, I believe. So, in that position, luckily was not a lot, but down 45% already. And here we go, ripping back up. Steve says, I'm hoping it gets back up to that 76 area. It will over time. We could talk a little bit more about specific crypto projects, but, one of the things that I am certainly a fan of is Charles Hoskinson. For those of you who really understand crypto and have dug into it, you realize what he's doing with Cardano is he's building the most decentralized crypto network that exists, maybe other than Bitcoin, I would argue, and giving all the power to the people who hold the tokens and spreading that around so no one person makes all the decisions and creating kind of a democratic, decentralized crypto. Now, Charles Hoskinson is out with the politicians schmoozing, trying to get Cardano to be used as blockchains for government projects and just the backbone for more of it. And I think there could be a lot of value there. Of course, that's just an opinion. Clearly a great buying opportunity. But this was, pretty much across the board in crypto with these big pain points. Now, let's look real quick at some of the indexes. Here's the futures for the S&P, which to lock limit down would need to have dropped considerably further, right? I know most people thought we were not going to, but if we were going to lock limit down, the S&P would have needed to get down to somewhere around 5640 before we lock limited down, and we didn't even get close to that one. So thank goodness we didn't get all the way down there. That would have been a chaotic moment, but it was certainly in the realm of possibility given all the stuff that was going on. So that's the pain of uncertainty, and ultimately this stuff all revolves around this guy right here and the little finger pointing about tariffs. Now, we talked about this on Friday. Actually, we talked about this on Thursday's show as they were discussing the tariffs. We kind of knew that they were going in when we talked about Trump taking office on the 20th of January. This is one of the big things. He had said 25 for Canada, 25 for Mexico, 10% for China, starting on February 1st. You got to give him props for being a man of his word. Now, what's interesting here with this tariff piece is it's starting a little bit of a trade war. I had a beer and a burger with a buddy of mine last night who's Canadian, and he's just laughing and cracking up over it because it's kind of going to the extreme. He played a video that was really great. I wish I should maybe get a copy so I could post it for you guys. But essentially in this video, it was, Canadians buying a bottle of Heinz ketchup. He's like, no, don't you buy that. That's American. And it was all about buying Canadian brands. So this little sense of loyalty I thought was pretty interesting for it. Now, do I know how this is going to end up? I have no idea. I just know that we are in the midst of this trade war. Mexico abided by the terms and conditions, and this is what Trump's MO is. It's shock. It's intense shock factor. I'm going to toe the line until you do what I want you to do. In this case, what has Trump said about Mexico? He says, we want you to stop illegal immigration into the United States, and we want you to stop fentanyl. Those are the two main things. Of course, I'm sure there's others, but those are the main ones. And, today, Mexican government said, we'll send in 10,000 troops to the border, and we're going to make sure we don't have any illegal immigrants going back into the United States, and also fentanyl. We will cooperate with you, which is exactly what Trump wanted. What did he do? Okay, we're putting a 75-day hold on those tariffs just to make sure you do what you say you're going to do. Bravo, bravo. From that perspective, Steve, for Mexico is a nothing burger because they don't go into effect until tomorrow, the tariffs. So Mexico now is kind of free and clear, thank goodness, because I can still get my avocados without paying a 25% tariff. Now, that said, Canada is probably going to be a little bit more difficult. Now, in the Monday Morning Must-Knows, I talked about agricultural products. And when I meant agricultural products from Canada, I'm predominantly thinking of the materials like potash, fertilizer pieces that come from Canada, but also energy. I saw some articles today that were talking about how on the East Coast, like Maine, for example, they get 90% of their energy from Canadian sources. Holy cow. All of a sudden, those of you in Maine or on the East Coast may be facing higher prices starting as early as next week or this week based off that. So Mexico's a nothing burger. Canada may actually be more of a problem depending on how long they dig in there and play hardball. But, Trump at this point will probably continue to play hardball. He'll probably jump up the tariffs if Canada does it just to really choke him out. But this ushers in that uncertainty. And I, for one, enjoy it. It's not as enjoyable for my swing trades, but as a day trader, someone who can make small moves off of it, fantastic. Today was one of those really good days. Canadian paused our past too. Oh, Canada got paused too? I did not know that Canada got paused. Steve says, won't stop drugs until we stop taking drugs. Yeah, the cartels have a very good way of getting their drugs past us. I must have missed that one, Big Ab. I thought Mexico was paused. Canada, I believe, was still on. So I stand corrected there. Well, that's good. That should pause this market right back into positive action. And I think it'll probably end up being even more bullish if Canada works with it as well. But yeah, I didn't think that they were. I thought they were still being kind of punks. Let's see. It's simple supply and demand. If there's demand for something, there will always be supply. Correct. And we might start getting that from different sources. But, I for one agree with Trump. Look, I'm pretty much, I'm all for medicinal marijuana. I think that there's a lot of drugs that actually do have some benefit and can help under the right environments. Certainly some medicinal impacts. But fentanyl serves no purpose other than to kill people. So that stuff, absolutely, I'm on with it. Wow. Cool. That is news to me. So this should actually be very bullish, which is fantastic because I did sell some puts today. I went out to our Magnificent 7. As you guys know, last week I had sold those 108s on NVIDIA, and you can see I still have my line there. I sold some today as well. Got some pretty nice premium. Got over 1% for the week. So very happy about that. Cool. NVIDIA still maybe not out of the woods yet. We'll see what happens with China. Got the beer tariff. Hey, Big Ab, have a good one. Enjoy your golf tournament, my friend. Hope it's a good one. Or was that last weekend? I think you're going to golf tournament this weekend. There are beer tariffs. Yeah, well, who knows? Cartel, the 5th largest employer in Mexico. Yeah. So, yeah, this was great. We had some really big down moves. Unfortunately, I only made this one today. I was looking at other stuff, like I mentioned crypto. You guys know that I mentioned kind of a new options portfolio that I'm working on that I'm interested in. That was with IBIT, and I wanted to sell some more IBIT today, but I just decided to not get too crazy. Not from fentanyl are prescribed by doctors and taken as directed helps with chronic pain. Okay. I guess every drug from that perspective does have, you could talk about oxycodone or Oxycontin, I guess under the right conditions, right prescription, sure. But it's certainly as a street drug where people don't know anything about it and they think it's, might be cocaine or something else, and all of a sudden they end up dying. So we all need a weaker grade of fentanyl. All right, I'm all for it. I'm definitely for shutting down the illegal part of it. Too many people are dying from it. I concur with that one. So Mexico abides, Canada abides. Now I guess all that's left then, maybe I have to update my info here, is what happens with China, right? Does China jump on board with this? Of course, they got a 10% tariff, which is a little bit less than what we saw with Canada or Mexico. Honestly, I really think it was kind of a bad idea to mess with your neighbors to the north and south of you. You try to keep relationships with your neighbors amicable and friendly. But at this point, I think we kind of pissed off the Canadians. I think Mexico was like, we're okay. But I think the Canadians now have a little bit of bitter taste in their mouth. But I'm sure that we will all get past it eventually if these markets continue to move up. So that was your kind of big pieces out there. I hope that some of you capitalized on it. I know it was a really aggressive day. There is I forgot the exact name of this pattern. If you guys notice this on IBIT, this is a candlestick pattern that Steve Nissen calls, I believe it's called a meeting point candle. So if you notice here this is IBIT, but I could pull up the Bitcoin futures as well. Let's just bring up the Bitcoin futures, maybe a better picture. You'll notice that on Friday's session, you had this really big red candle, right? It was an ominous looking red candle. And then today, you have this big green candle that closed right about where Friday's candle closed. This is called a bullish meeting point. Now, it's not a high probability trade, but it does, according to Steve Nissen, lead to higher prices, which for all of us that are holding Bitcoin, that's fantastic. I mean, we were down at 91.5 today, and now we're back up to 101. I mean, that's a $6,000 swing in one day, down and back up. That's pretty impressive for Bitcoin. If this does hold true, and this bullish meeting point pattern continues like it should, then we should be back at 106, maybe 108 by the weekend. Certainly if we have calm and peace with regards to Mexico, Canada, and China, and we backpedal a little bit. I'll be honest, in the talk that we've had here on this program, I was surprised to see that, well, there actually hasn't been implementation yet. It was the talk of implementation. And I mentioned that in his first administration, Trump would do this like on a Thursday and say we're going to tariff China 30%, and then come Monday said, no, we're working out a deal. Well, it looks like we're doing that right now. So the MO is the same. It's shock, it's awe, and then come to a resolution. And it looks like we've come to a resolution with Mexico or Canada as well, which is really a good thing overall. So all in all, if those two things have been calmed, at least if there's 75-day pauses for Mexico and for Canada, then what this does mean, markets are going to be very happy about this and regain momentum, which is a good thing. So let's look at the S&P 500. We're still down from your Friday close, and honestly, for the past few months, we've been just slightly moving up, even though we did hit all-time highs here on the first or later weeks of January. But the trend is still overall to the upside. Now, NASDAQ, a little bit different, right? We had this big uptrend, kind of pause with a shorter-term downtrend here for about a month, a little over a month. And now the inability to get past new highs. So right now I feel like the NASDAQ's just chopping back and forth with no real clear direction, and certainly not as strong, although I did go with some tech plays. And I'll talk to you in just a second about why I think tech might be a really good thing going forward. So that was your NASDAQ. Your Russell, man, just gigantic range here. I'll go from the bottom to the top just to get a percentage range for your Russell today. 4.23% worth of intraday swings, and that's just one line. It was going back and forth and actually came right down to this area that some will call a demand zone. I know it's all beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but that little demand zone right there for the Russell started at 2207, and our low point today on the Russell was 2189. So just tiptoed into that demand zone and then bounced out. So things look good from that perspective for our indexes. We'll see if that momentum does continue here going forward over the next couple of days. Let me see. Sold the IBIT 50 out 2 weeks and got 61. Nice. Great premium. I mean, over 1% for 2 weeks, and you hit the 50s, which is pretty darn good, right, Steve? Again, I don't care if I get executed on IBIT. I really don't, because I'm a big believer that Bitcoin's going to continue to go up over the next at least 8 months, right? We'll have our big whipsaws. So for me, I don't care. Like right now, I'm underwater on my IBIT, but I'm not worried at all. Again, I have the 5950 puts is what I sold, and instantly was underwater on those things, and we're coming back on that. Jobs will be the next catalyst this week. Yeah, Damiani, absolutely. Certainly believe it. I think Friday is going to be a big one. Yeah, so Steve, I mean, collecting 1% for 2 weeks, you average that over the course of the year, you're looking at 26+% per year. Not bad, especially if we have a negative year. I'd love to have those kind of numbers. I mean, if the market is flat and has zero gain for the year and I got 26%, I'm patting myself on the back and buying myself a nice drink. That was a good one. Let's see. Palantir, yeah, well, let's go look at Palantir, who just came out with earnings after market close day, and because you said that one, let's just bring this guy up. This just further bolsters the argument that AI is not dead yet, right? Big move, up 23% in the after-hour session. I was looking at options on it today, and I just decided it was too risky. You guys know I'm a little bit nervous about trading options going into an earnings announcement. Of course, we have SMCI and we have MicroStrategy coming up here this week as well, so that'll be a wild week. But yeah, huge move up for Palantir, which I didn't see the exact numbers. It looks like they beat. They're expected to make 11 cents, and they came out at 14. Certainly must have made some positive comments, because right now, if I was to draw a horizontal line at the current price and put this back to a daily, we'll look over here, make this a daily time frame. We are literally off the charts from all-time prices. I mean, the high line here at 103.09 is where we're at in the after hours. So phenomenal move up here for Palantir. My guess is you'll probably see a little bit of profit taking tomorrow, but yeah, phenomenal. Love it. Yeah, hold my beer. And there's a couple others this week, guys. We've got Google, we have Amazon reporting this week, so it's going to be pretty good. Steve says, I like owning iBit. They have good premiums on calls and puts. Exactly. You know, it's like, I like iBit for that reason, and I also like it because it's got the rather small fee compared to the other Bitcoin ETFs, and I want to be doing options on Bitcoin. So it's either MicroStrategy, which has me a little concerned with their business operations, but yeah, that's why I chose iBit over MicroStrategy. I could have done both of them. One of the reasons I'm okay with iBit is I'm not doing one or two. You know, I'm doing dozens at a time of contracts, and that could add up. But because I'm using Tradier, I pay $10 per month, so I don't have to pay all these transaction fees. So I'll do weeklies, and I'll do a big quantity of them, so I'm not worried about the commission fees. The only difference there is you have to pay exercise fees, I think $9 at Tradier. So I'll let you guys know how that goes. I know some of you have asked me about Tradier, so we'll let you know along the way. Their interface, at least on the web-based platform, is a little clunky, but still fine. Mara is good, right? Yeah, but I have an issue with miners. Miners aren't like trading Bitcoin. That's the reason I went with iBit. Miners are their own little ecosystem of income, expenses, regulation, right? There's a lot more variables there that could cause damage to something like Mara, which is the only reason I'm not doing any options on these. It certainly has volatility, but you know, if Riot or Marathon all of a sudden get hit with some energy regulation or some energy tax, or somebody comes out with better mining equipment, and all of a sudden their stuff says planned obsolescence with regards to their mining equipment, there could be big problems there. So I don't own any miners, nor have I. So just something for me to shy away from. All right, Ferry says he doubled down this morning on Canada becoming the 51st, and they said they don't agree. If they don't agree, they haven't felt enough pain. That's funny. Let's see. I'm trying to read all your comments here because I don't want to feel like anybody got left out. Federal Reserve, the government, pick winners. So, Chad, let me talk about that one real quick. So this is another piece, and then we'll dive into whatever you guys want to talk about. And I'm more than happy to discuss anything, so just type it in the chat here. But you saw President Trump signed a sovereign wealth fund for the United States. This is one that is interesting. First off, let's explain what a sovereign wealth fund is. That is basically a government will build an investment portfolio that is held by the government. And I have mixed feelings about this. Certainly, it's a way for us to capitalize on economic prosperity. So if we look out across the spectrum, I kind of feel like this might be a little bit too late type of thing. Just look at the NASDAQ here as an example. You know, why have we not had a sovereign wealth fund for a while? I mean, here's your weekly chart of the NASDAQ 100. Why have we not owned our infrastructure? Why have we not owned our technology on a government level? Now, I think for me anyway, the problem I have with a sovereign wealth fund is it's allowing your government to pick winners and allows them to front run which businesses they want to buy. So if we do go through with this sovereign wealth fund, I think it's really important to look at who was at President Trump's inauguration. Meta, Microsoft, who else do we have there, guys? You had Zuckerberg was there, Amazon. So immediately those three automatically would be on my targeted radar as a long-term hold, because I don't think anyone here would be surprised if President Trump enacted the sovereign wealth fund and those become the first things that get purchased, or other United States, technology firms to give us technological superiority. Maybe American semiconductor companies, as you start buying into NVIDIA and Broadcom or other companies that might be predominantly U.S. or just U.S. based. That gives them the ability to front run it. And not only that, but as they build this portfolio, let's say, for example, the government builds a sovereign wealth fund and puts Apple shares in there and Google shares in there and Meta shares in there. Just say it's those three. I'm pretty sure you would all agree that if there was initiatives that required on some sort of browsing service or AI service, that those three would probably get the government contract in business, because now by giving them the business, it would boost the value of those shares and the government would make money off of it. So this is like insider trading at the most elite level possible from a government perspective. Yeah, collusion would be one word for it. To me, it's just insider trading. Now, for those of us who are longer term investors, who cares, right? Just let me know what's in that sovereign fund, and that's what I'm buying. So I think it does give you an opportunity here as an investor to ride the coattails. Now, I'm hoping that this will be a transparent sovereign wealth fund so we can see what they're holding. Otherwise, to me, it's just subject to manipulation, etc., even though I still think it's subject to manipulation. But I think this is actually a pretty good thing. Live says, the government could just follow Nancy. Yeah. Hey, remember, Nancy was not the most successful one. There's members from across the aisle. There's some Republicans that are actually even having better results than Nancy Pelosi. But, why is Nancy Pelosi and other senators doing so well? Because of insider information, period. This stuff should be totally illegal. They should not be allowed to benefit from it because, again, they're doing what's right for their portfolios, not for the economy as a whole, in my opinion. And I think that this would be no different, right? Again, whatever companies were in that sovereign wealth fund, and my feeling is that pretty much every company you see here at the bottom on my list of Magnificent Seven, so I'm sure Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Tesla, NVIDIA will all be in there. They'll all be in that technology space. And there will probably be many others that will end up being in there, but those will probably get the government contracts, the preferential treatment, the lax regulation, and ultimately what that means is the share price of these companies will probably do much better over time, and I think that could be something that we end up following. My guess is there will probably be an ETF that comes out that's the Wealth Fund ETF, and that ETF will mirror whatever is in this sovereign wealth fund. That will probably be one of the newer investment vehicles put out there by BlackRock. But again, Donald Trump said this is going to take about 12 months to get this all set up, which is actually pretty good news for us, right? It means that we can kind of, over the next year, figure out how all these tariffs and tax cuts and firings and hirings and consolidation, how does this all boil down, right? It's like we've got this stew, we're just throwing everything in the pot and pulling everything out at once. It's like, okay, how does this all filter out? And once we kind of get a sense of to how things are working, then you start the sovereign wealth fund, which is buying our equities, driving share prices up and fostering economic growth. It does sound like a very good thing from a bullish perspective over time. And I know things could backfire and could definitely go against us, but all in all, I thought that was a welcome piece of news today for the U.S. was the sovereign wealth fund. Now, as soon as I wrap up here today, I'm going to go and take my dog to the park as I usually do, but I'm also going to go and dive into what happened with Canada and their resolution. I think kind of a smart move on them to just kind of back down a little bit. I mean, really, we're asking for the world. I want you to stop fentanyl and immigration into the U.S. Chad says, all administrations pick winners. It's just different levels of transparency or not. Exactly. And I think, one of the issues I have with these portfolio trackers, and I forgot, one of you actually sent me, let's see if I can give some props here. I think it might have been you, Chad. You sent me a link to a website, right? Was it you? Sorry, I apologize if I didn't give you props when it first happened, but I will look over here. I think it was Chad or Gary. And it basically was a website that tracked the different politicians, the different portfolios. And I thought it was really interesting. But again, they have 75 days, I believe, before they have to report anything. 75 days. So by the time that they bought something, they may have actually already sold it, and now they release it to you that they bought it, and they're already out, right? So this is, to me, a little sneaky action. This should be real time. So if you're an elected official, your trade should be on a website, a government website that is transparent. So the minute that you buy or sell a share as a senator, it's automatically updated, which would be great for people like you and I, because now I could set alerts and maybe even really watch Pelosi. I think it would cause markets to get a little bit more volatile and move faster, but now we ride their coattails, right? I think I would be okay with it if all their trades were tracked real time. And then we could really kind of understand how they were voting on issues. I mean, personally, I think it should be illegal for them to trade because of just bad tactics and the ability for them to manipulate things in a bad way. So let's see. Maybe I was looking at this stuff. Yeah, you sent me a couple really good things. What happens if the government ends up with 52%? 52% of what? Like if they issued the sovereign wealth fund, well, they own 100% of the sovereign wealth fund. I think you're asking if they own 52% of any one particular company. Yeah, I don't. Was it Oliver? It's one. Let me see if I can find it here. One of you guys sent this really cool website. I'll find it. Damn, I don't want to do this live on air. It's going to take me way too long. All right, I won't do it though. Limit to long indexes only. Politicians. I'm totally. Yep. Yeah. VB, I think you've listened to me enough to know that that's absolutely the way it should be. It should be you can buy things, but you can't short it. That should be a crime that every politician has to abide by. They cannot short anything in America. That means that you're going to do things. If they shorted the S&P, that means they're going to bet the market's going to go down, and that means that they will not do their job. They will actually make America worse on purpose so the markets tank and they make money. That should be a criminal offense. Yes, they can short the market, Steve. They could buy an inverse ETF. They can short the markets. That should be outlawed. Absolutely outlawed. You should never be able to short. They shouldn't be able to sell a futures contract like initially opened by selling. Yeah, they should not be able to short. And who knows, maybe we can get Musk to propose that to the president to pass it. But the president makes money off this stuff too. Yeah, can you imagine? Your politicians are shorting the market and you're like in financial despair, hoping that things get better. You know they won't. You know they won't. I'm getting paid to lose, right? It's like the NFL season. When the team is near the end of the season, they got the worst record. Don't win a game. Just lose the game so you get the best pick, right? It's manipulation. Let's see. I think I mentioned because of Pelosi. Yeah, there was a Pelosi tracker, but it was a website. I'll look at it for tomorrow and I'll show it to you. I just can't remember where it's at, and I don't want to dig into it right now. But there are AI software platforms you can actually buy into that track different politicians. Just remember, it's up to 75 days late. They have 75 days to report their trades. None of them are doing it right away. It could be a couple of weeks. It could be a month down the road. They start to report their trades, and by the time you get it, it's already done and gone. Well, Steve, you can write your senators and push for it. I think that it's high time we made change, and this is why I've been pushing back on a lot of these senators that are attacking Musk, because they're like, oh, this makes me sick that he's doing this. It's like, he's doing your job that you should have been doing, right? So maybe we can facilitate changes with some outside help and get these people to make the changes. It's going to be hard to get them to approve it because they'd have to vote on it, right? And they're the ones who are benefiting from it. So, fortunately. Hopefully they aren't shorting the Trump meme. Yeah, well, hopefully they are. Live for him. I'm not a fan of the Trump meme coin. I think it brings people into the ecosystem, but it's a black eye on the face of crypto. It's an absolute joke. It serves 100% no purpose. There's nothing to it. It's a money grab, and those types of things should be banned in the United States, in my opinion. That's why politicians never leave. Yep, exactly, Kevin. And they'll keep making money and money and money. And I think a lot of people go into office with good intentions, but money corrupts. All right, let's go on. I'm going to run through our top 8 here. We already covered a lot of these, but there were some interesting pieces. The one that really stood out to me today as being the most exciting was the dollar index. Look at the chart of this dollar index. I'll get rid of some of these lines because I think they're a little bit old. I will certainly keep that yellow box there, which could act as a little bit of a demand zone. But look at the topping tail on this dollar index today. I mean, this was a giant swing. I tweeted out last night where it looked like the dollar index at one point was up 1.27%. Remember, this is for the entire purchasing power of the U.S. dollar against other currencies. Up 1.27% is, wow, fantastic. And all of a sudden, it gave it all back, completely erased all gains, and ending up the day down 0.07 as we speak right now. So pretty interesting to see that one. I thought we were actually going to challenge a 110, sell off a little bit, and then break through. But just the sheer volatility today in that dollar index was awesome. That was an exciting piece. Now let's start at the bottom, work our way to the top. We already ran through a couple of these S&P indexes, etc., but we had the Russell 2000 come right back down to that little yellow box. It just drew today, so I should have drawn it a couple of days ago, but there we are. And if you notice, if I was to extend this box backwards a little bit, this has really been an area of concern for the markets. I've been talking about this level as well. It's like, you got 2172 as a low side here. It was actually higher than that. When I was looking at this, it was right around there. 2180 is being that kind of bottom point. If we get a close below 2180, then we're probably going to fall fairly quickly down to 2100 or lower on the Russell, because that's our next stop over here from September. So until we close below this yellow box, I'm not worried about the Russell. I might even be looking at selling some puts. I do have some puts sold on IWM right at that level as well, and I think I have some over at the 208 mark, way down there. So NASDAQ, Russell was down 1.2%, NASDAQ down 0.8%. Again, technically, I don't know what to make of this. You could argue an uptrend, you could argue consolidation. It's just kind of messy right now. So until I get a clearer picture, I'm not that excited about what I'm seeing technically with the NASDAQ. Now the S&P is a little bit better. It feels like it's just kind of more straight sideways action. We did form a double top here and hit it again on Friday. Let's see if we can challenge that all-time, the ATH of 6150 for the S&P here the next couple weeks, as long as we get some cooperation and peace with everyone with regards to tariffs. And China has, I guess, yet to speak their piece. Of course, we had the Bitcoin price chart, and I've had this level on here for weeks now, which is basically this consolidation point that goes all the way back into November on Bitcoin. That number is 87,000, the dead low. 89 is your beginning of that demand zone, and I've kind of have a higher red line drawn. And you can see the reason that dashed red line is drawn right here is because of all these points of contact. We hit it on November 26th. We hit it on December 30th. We hit it again a couple times. We came right down to it and literally bounced off it to the T today, which again further validates some accumulation happening right around 91,000. And we hit 91,500 today, which is the dead low. So very good that is holding. Of course, anything that closes down below that, now we have to reevaluate. But I think we're okay. I think we're going to be good on this one. I already mentioned that dollar index. We got the 10-year yield, which was following through with this head and shoulders, and then all of a sudden did an about face, as most of the things in the markets did today. You actually have, it kind of looks like a hammer pattern, but remember, a hammer pattern is, yes, it's a single candle, but usually it's the end of an aggressive downtrend, and I'd argue this is not really an aggressive downtrend. That said, for anybody here who is looking at this bad boy, you put a line across the top, and basically you're looking at a break above the 4.6 or 4.567 yield. That's your long opportunity on the 10-year yield. Gold up 0.78%, huge swing, setting another all-time high, intraday high as well as closing high. So it looks fantastic for gold at 2,857. Again, I believe reflecting more uncertainty, tariffs, inflation, all those goodies. And then finally, crude oil, which has had a nice little resurgence over the past couple of days. Today, a lot of volatility up 0.87%, but ultimately it looks like a pretty ugly red candle, but it was still up 0.87 for the session. All right, let me see what I got here. What do you think about doing a mechanical 2-to-1 profit target for a higher win rate? Do you know anybody who does this? I know a lot of people who use 2-to-1. I think that 2-to-1 is actually an okay thing to do. The issue I have with that, Adam, is I believe more traders are prone to take big losses. And even if you have a 2-to-1 on there, not only are you prone to take more losses, but large losses, but quantity of losses, because of just the nature of the beast. They take very small winners and they let their losses run. And I think a 3-to-1 is a better way to go, because you're setting yourself up for a bigger target. Yes, there's less probability that's going to get to that target if it's a 3-to-1 versus a 2-to-1. But your odds of success, I believe, increase by going 3-to-1. Could you go 2-to-1? Sure. I have a friend that used to go 1-to-1, and he really didn't pay much attention to it either. It was just like, I'm going for this target. If I get it, I get it. I was like, but from a math perspective, 3-to-1, in my opinion, is a better way to go. So, yeah, Steve says, I do a lot of 1-to-1s and 2-to-1s. Percentage win rate is about 65%. That's phenomenal. See, and that's the key right there, is if you can prove to yourself that you got a 65% win rate, then 2-to-1s are fine. Even 1-to-1s are fine. Most traders don't have 65% win rate. For most people, I think it's less than 50. So you got to make sure you've got a good reward factor in there. Great question. Let's see. Steve says, daily red candle is the biggest candle I've ever seen. Wow, ever. There's been some big candles. Well, I don't know which market that was on, but which red candle? Is that the dollar, the S&P? There's a bunch of red candles on here, but I wouldn't say any of these are the biggest I've ever seen. Yeah, Steve says you can hit 1-to-1 a lot, and that's true. You know, you can get 1-to-1s quite frequently. But again, I think you're cutting yourself short. The beauty of having a 3-to-1 is I could literally lose 3 out of 4 trades and still make money on a 3-to-1. If I lose 3 out of 4 trades on a 1-to-1, I'm a net loser. If I lose 3 out of 4 trades on a 2-to-1, I'm a net loser. And I guess part of the solution there is if you have a target of, let's say, a 1-to-1, then it comes down to trade management, right? Do I take all of my money off that table at that 1-to-1 target, or do I now scale out half, let that second half run, and hopefully get a 3, 4, 5, 10-to-1, which really helps me increase my overall profitability. Let's see. My win rate is much higher than 65, but I primarily sell options. Yeah, and I think that makes it a little bit different, Lori. That was one thing we talked about on the year-end show. I mean, some of my numbers this year, or last year, were phenomenal. I mean, just shaking my head, like, wow, you have 90+% success rate on options. That's good. But on a futures or straight equities trade, different story, right? Different story. You get to 65% as an equities trader or futures, you're doing pretty good. 65% is pretty good, especially if you have the right win to risk-reward ratio. Cool. All right, let me run into some of the economic data for today. Obviously, the big stuff is going to happen on Friday when we have the unemployment report. That's going to happen on the 7th. But as far as today, there really wasn't any groundbreaking stuff. You did have some final services and manufacturing data. Most of that is pretty weak. You're looking at right around 50%, which when you have a 50%, that's the middle there, just kind of oscillating around. Means not that bullish, not that bearish. Now, the good news for ISM manufacturing PMI is we have been seeing it get better and better and better. We just crossed above 50, which means there's slight optimism there as opposed to pessimism that we've had for about the past 2 years now. So that's a nice piece. Then if you look at the, let's go to the other number here, construction spending. This is another one that you want to start to see heat up, and I was kind of surprised to see it happen so early. It always seems to me like the construction spending picks up near the, getting into March, April, May, June. It starts to go. Well, this February number was showing a nice jump up as well. So this is obviously very good. It means more spending coming into the markets. But this wasn't really the big stuff. It's coming out later on this week. Now, I'll show you what's happening for mañana. For the U.S., you've got a few things happening. First piece of jobs data for the week is your JOLTS job openings. They're expecting that to drop just a little bit. You also have your factory orders numbers coming out, as well as several members from the FOMC speaking. That's going to be Bostic and Daly will be speaking. And then on the earnings front, we do have a little excitement going on there. Let me bring up my earnings calendar because I did not have that one prepped for you guys. I'll get it up here for you. And here you go. So the big daddy is Google. Right, tomorrow you've got Google reporting after market close, but you also have Merck, PepsiCo, Advanced Micro Devices, so AMD, Pfizer, Amgen, KKR, UBS, Spotify. I mean, a lot of big names coming out with earnings tomorrow, so that'll be a really exciting one. I think add a little bit more fireworks to the trading week, but it's I think for me it all revolves around this guy right here, following his tweets, seeing what he says, and one thing that I have noticed is the amount of people who are taking a Donald Trump presidential tweet and taking the template within X and then filling that in with images or graphics or statements that are not from Donald Trump. So you got to be real careful what you're seeing. If someone reposts a Trump tweet, even has his name on it, a lot of times they're just typing in information in there to elicit a response. So if you are acting off of these tweets, make sure you look at his actual Twitter or X posts, because people are copying and trying to elicit a response there and make things go crazy. I'll try to mechanical 3-to-1 because I noticed that when I do get winners, it tends to hit 3-to-1 and then reverses. Perfect. And maybe, Adam, what you do is as it's getting to your third target, just move your stop loss up so it's in profit now, and move it up to your stop loss is now to 1-to-1 profit. So you're not going to walk away a loser, right? Because I've done this many times where I have a $3 profit target and a $1 stop loss, and now it moves up, and it's already up $2 a profit. And if you leave your stop loss there and it comes all the way back down, demoralizing, totally demoralizing. I would move my stop loss up so you take some money off the table. Let's see. All right, you guys got a good one. So let's see. For this week, I was going to try to get some other instructors on, some other traders on, but I couldn't get anybody. I have Dr. Woody Johnson, though. So Wednesday is going to be a psychology day. Now, I'm a big believer that trading is predominantly about psychology, not only how you deal with the market's psychology and the behavioral analysis of all the people that make up the trading world, but also your brain, right? How are you programmed? What sort of things are you looking for? How do you act? How do you function? To me, that's a really important piece. So Dr. Woody Johnson's going to be on the program on Wednesday to talk about that. And I'll make it Psychology Wednesday. Other than that, I don't have any other guests scheduled for this week. I'll try to find some, but it's been pretty darn busy. So sorry if I haven't had any new guests on this week. So that's going to do it for me, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope the wildness of our markets did well for you today. We'll see how the follow-through is. Technically, those follow-through for crypto looked actually much more bullish than the equity markets. Again, this is called a meeting point candle, which is very close to a piercing candle. This is a bullish sign, so we'll see if that one does continue on over the next couple of days and get us back to our all-time highs. As far as those indexes go, still a little bit of ground to get back up into winning territory here, at least for the week. But all in all, not a horrible, horrible day when all the dust was said and settled. All right, so thanks, everybody. That's it for me. If you have anything you want to discuss on tomorrow's show, email me, tradermerlin@gmail.com, or put it down below any of the YouTube videos. I'm going to try posting a lot more stuff on X, so you can follow me on X as well. Of course, that's Trader Merlin. And again, if you are following me on any of these sites, don't respond to anybody who's contacting you for me to trade your money or invest your money. As you guys know, I will never contact you to trade your money or invest your money. I'm here to talk markets, but not to manage your money in any way. So stay away from those scammers, and let me know if you find any scammers so we can shut them down. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.